Hello everyone, my name is AlzaboHD, and in today's video tutorial, we are going to cover how to learn and play Imperator Rome. For full disclosure, this guide was sponsored by Paradox Interactive, and originally appeared as 5 separate video tutorials on their Paradox Grand Strategy YouTube channel. For this video, I decided to combine all parts of this tutorial series into one comprehensive guide. Feel free to check out this table of contents that lists the various segments of the guide if you're interested in skipping ahead. In order, we will cover an introduction to the game's user interface, provinces and population, politics and diplomacy, war and peace mechanics, and finally a guide to all new aspects of the game added with the 1.5 Menander update. With that out of the way, it's time to get started with the video. Hello everyone, and welcome to the first part of a 5-part tutorial series where we will cover how to play the basics of Imperator Rome. In this episode, we will cover the fundamentals, including how to navigate and understand the user interface, exploring the various powers relating to your nation, and a basic primer on the differences of the various states, including monarchies, tribes, and republics you can select from the start of your campaign. Once you're ready to play along, it's time to start a new game and explore Imperator Rome. To start a new game from the menu screen, we will select Single Player and then click New Game. A large map of the ancient world will now appear, showing the various states as they existed in 304 BC. You can select and play as any of these nations, from amongst the smallest of primitive tribes to the sprawling kingdoms of the Hellenic world. To move around, you can use the WASD keys on your keyboard, or you can use your mouse by hovering over the edges of the screen. At the top of your screen, you can also change the map view, allowing you to look at the various states, cultures, religions, and more of the ancient world. Before selecting a nation for your first campaign, it should be noted that each nation possesses a subtype of one of 3 government forms. There are tribes, republics, and monarchies, and each possesses strengths and unique mechanics. Tribes are the most widespread of government form, and allow the player to migrate, sack cities, and either decentralize or centralize their form of administration. Monarchies are also quite common, and consist of states where a family dynasty rules and confers bonuses to civilizational value. The least common form of government are republics, and they consist of states that benefit from increased character loyalty and elect temporary leaders, allowing you to quickly adapt to changing circumstances. While you are able to select any state of your choice, for the purposes of this tutorial we will select Egypt as our starting nation. They are a strong and large monarchy, and well situated for learning the basics of Imperator Rome. To begin our campaign, we will click on this nation and select the Begin Game button. Our campaign starts paused and with an event that details Alexander the Great, providing historical background similar to other major nations. After closing this window, we will now cover the basic controls of Imperator Rome. Just as before, you can move the world map with the WASD keys, and by using your mouse, and you can zoom in and out with your mouse's scroll wheel. Near the bottom right of your screen is an interactive minimap, with map modes that can be toggled to change between terrain, polities, diplomatic relations, religion, cultures, and more on your world map. You can experiment with this interface to find more information about the world around you, and it will become quite useful later on in your campaign. But before we continue, it's important to start with the basics. At the very top of your screen are your nation's resources. The first resource we will cover is your nation's treasury, which you can use to hire and maintain armies, build buildings, and invest in technology and trade. If you click on this index, you can access the economic interface, which details the health of your economy and allows you to change the taxes of your population and wages of your characters. You gain money every month by a combination of taxes, commerce, and trade routes, which derive from your national population. You can also gain money from your subject states in the form of tribute. On the other hand, armies, navies, fortresses, and national advisors all cost money to maintain every month, and you should try to keep a positive balance. If you ever overspend and your nation goes into a deficit, a variety of negative events will impact your nation, so be sure to keep an eye on this indicator and keep your income positive. The next resource we will cover is manpower, and is located to the right of our national treasury. Manpower is the amount of adults in our nation that can be conscripted and raised into our armies. Just like our national treasury, we gain manpower every month depending on the size of our population. Various buildings and policies can increase this resource, while drafting units into our forces and losing cohorts to combat and attrition will steadily deplete it over time. To the right of our manpower indicator is our political influence. Influence is a very valuable resource, and is used in everything from diplomacy, increasing your stability, and even developing your province's infrastructure. You can increase your influence each month by ensuring the loyalty of your government ministers, which you can access by clicking on the indicator. This will bring up the Advisor Government screen, where you can interact with the bureaucrats of your nation. Disloyal advisors produce far less influence each month, and can be replaced by loyalists to increase the monthly generation of this valuable resource. The next resource we will look at is military experience. As your units and armies fight and win battles, you will accrue military experience, which is a type of currency you can use to invest in military traditions. When you click on this resource, the military tradition interface will open, showing you a variety of traditions that you can invest in to improve the combat effectiveness of your military. Different cultures and nations possess different traditions, and these bonuses range from modifiers to unlockable tactics and mechanics that greatly change your tactical abilities. For example, our Levantine traditions allow us to use the phalanx, a powerful military tactic. Our next resource to the right of military tradition is our nation's stability. We start our campaign with 50 stability, symbolizing a balance in our nation's internal affairs. Destabilizing events, like changing laws or declaring unjust wars, will lower this resource, creating unrest that can lead to revolutions and civil war. Higher stability in turn leads to population growth and increased commerce income and research speed. There are a variety of ways to increase stability, including events during your campaign and religious mechanics. To increase stability manually, you can offer religious sacrifices by clicking on this resource to open the religion interface. Here, there is an option at the top left to conduct a religious sacrifice and gain monthly stability at the cost of political influence. The next indicator we will cover is aggressive expansion, and is the next resource to the right of our stability. You begin your campaign with 0 aggressive expansion, but this can be increased by declaring wars, conquering provinces, and subjugating your enemies. The more that you expand via war and conquest, the higher your aggressive expansion will become, with penalties that stack and become more severe. In general terms, a high level of aggressive expansion will negatively impact other nations' opinions of you, decrease the loyalty of your subject states, and will decrease the happiness of your national population, severely limiting their productivity and damaging provincial loyalty, potentially leading to open rebellion. Every month, this resource will decrease over time, and when you are at peace, it decays even faster, so you should moderate your wars of conquest to better minimize the penalties of military expansion. The second to last resource we will cover is tyranny, an indicator that conceptualizes the brutality of your government. Imprisoning your characters, executing your opposition, and selecting oppressive event outcomes increases your tyranny. Unlike aggressive expansion, tyranny provides both bonuses and penalties to your nation, and must be carefully balanced to avoid excessive unrest. High values of tyranny reduce both your character's loyalty and the happiness of your primary culture, leading to economic stagnation and revolution if not managed carefully. But tyranny also provides bonuses, in the form of improved slave output, lowering war score costs, and by further reducing the costs of imprisoning more characters. Every month, this value will decrease until it resets at its default level of 0. The last standard resource we will cover in this video is war exhaustion. This resource is directly related to how much attrition and loss your armies face on the battlefield. Losing wars, having your provinces occupied by the enemy, declaring wars without valid reasons, and conducting a war despite a call for peace will all greatly increase your war exhaustion, resulting in substantial penalties to your nation. A high war exhaustion results in unhappiness across all of your population, including those of your primary culture and those that belong to other cultural groups. Given that unhappiness leads to lower productivity and increased unrest, a high level of war exhaustion will result in you making less money each month and exposing you to the risks of separatist uprising and internal conflict. Depending on your government form, you might have an additional resource to the right of your war exhaustion. Monarchies have the legitimacy resource, while tribes have a centralization mechanic. For monarchies, legitimacy is a measure of how popular your dynasty is, while centralization allows tribal governments to alternate between bonuses to migration or civilization. Republics are unique in that they have no comparable resource. With the basics of resources out of the way, it's time now to take a look at the Outliner tab at the right of our screen. This interface lists your nation's armies, navies, disloyal characters, and active diplomats. If you click on any of these elements, your map will automatically take you to that point of interest. Clicking on your armies, for example, will take you to their location on the world map, while clicking on characters will take you to their information page. You can customize what appears on this interface by clicking on the Outliner configuration button located at the top left. By default, all elements are set to appear on the Outliner, and when characters or provinces are about to turn disloyal or are actively disloyal, they will also appear here, which will allow you to easily take care of them. Before starting your campaign, I recommend taking a look at the alerts at the top center of your screen. Whenever there is an urgent matter that requires your attention, it will appear here, with notifications prompting you to select trade routes, invest in technological inventions, and more. We will delve into these mechanics in future video guides, but for now I'd recommend keeping your eye out for notifications as they appear. With the basics of the user interface out of the way, it's time now to turn our attention to the game itself. Gameplay takes place in Imperator Rome in real time, with days and months marking the passage of time. When you start your campaign, gameplay will be paused, but once you are ready to begin playing, you can unpause by pressing your spacebar or by clicking on the play button at the top right of your screen. Here, you will also find buttons that allow you to control the speed of time, with the minus button slowing down game speed and the plus button speeding it up accordingly. Most calculations in game, like your treasury, manpower pool, and influence levels, update each month. Hello everyone, and welcome to the second part of a 5-part tutorial series where we cover how to play the basics of Imperator Rome. In this episode, we will explore how to rule your empire, and take a look at your nation's provinces, population, culture, and religion. Once you are ready to play along, it's time to load our campaign and explore the fundamentals of ruling your empire and your subjects. After loading into your campaign, it's time to take a closer look at our nation and its administrative divisions. Go ahead and press the home key on your keyboard, or click on the Zoom to Capital button, located at the bottom of your screen just above your mini-map. This will take us to our nation's capital, the most important settlement of our empire. When you click on this territory, the provincial user interface will appear, with detailed information about our capital's demographics, including the religion and culture of our population, the trade goods produced locally, and an overview of the development level and buildings found in the settlement. If you click on other settlements in the region, you will find that their population level, development, and locally produced resources will differ from that of your capital. Administrative regions in Imperator are divided between territories, provinces, and regions, ranked from smallest to largest. Our capital is located in the city of Alexandria, which itself is located in the province of Western Delta and the region of Lower Egypt. The interface for each settlement details information not just about the local area, but also the entire province, and the more settlements you control in any given province will result in more economic and strategic resources. You can better visualize the resources and output of your provinces by clicking on the Provinces map mode near the minimap at the bottom right of your screen. To better understand provincial resources, we will first need to cover our population, conceptualized in-game as the mechanic of POPs. Every settlement in Imperator Rome is populated by a mixture of 5 classes of POPs. These consist of slaves, tribesmen, freemen, citizens, and nobles. We will first cover slaves, who form the economic backbone of your nation. Slaves provide your nation with taxes and stackable amounts of resources depending on their population in any given settlement. If you hover over the resource provided by each settlement, in this example glass, you can see that every 18 slave POPs will produce 1 additional glass resource, with cities and metropolises providing a further 1 and 2 bonus resources respectively. In this way, you can direct your slaves to produce increasing quantities of a specific resource in any given settlement. Slaves can also be forcibly moved between settlements in the View POP screen, which is a great mechanic to consider when you want to produce more of any given resource. Slaves can also be obtained in war, and will automatically populate your capital and the capitals of your various provinces as you occupy enemy territory and vanquish your enemies. The second POP class we will cover are Tribesmen, a hybridized class that provides both manpower and taxes to your nation. Tribesmen are uncommon and undesirable to have in most settled monarchies and republics, given that they receive unhappiness the more civilized and developed your settlements become. In tribal governments, though, tribesmen are the core class of pop, and are unique in that they can migrate under the migratory tribal government form. Over time, tribesmen in more civilized states will either migrate away, or promote their way into freemen and citizens, or find themselves demoted to the slave caste. The third pop class we will cover are freemen, which form the foundation of your nation's military. Freemen directly contribute to both the maximum level and monthly increase of your national manpower, and further contribute a nominal amount of tax income. Manpower is a crucial resource for warfare, and allows you to hire armies and navies and automatically replenishes your damaged forces from combat loss and attrition. Unlike slaves, you cannot manually move freemen from settlements or provinces. Instead, they have the ability to migrate independently of your command, and will often move to settlements that share their culture and religion. The fourth pop class we will cover are citizens, who contribute to your nation's technological development by providing research points each month, and further provide a nominal level of manpower. Citizens are necessary to have if you're interested in unlocking technology, and produce research points which can be used to gain access to new inventions. Citizens also contribute to the amount of trade routes your provinces can support, allowing you to increase the amount of strategic and luxury resources you can import into your nation. Much like freemen, citizens can also migrate on their own, and cannot be forcibly settled. The fifth and final pop class we will cover are nobles, a recent addition added in the 1.5 update. Nobles provide the largest amount of research points you can obtain from any given class to your nation, and also contribute heavily to the amount of trade routes available in their resident province. Nobles are a rare class, often appearing only in your nation's capital and other highly urbanized regions. They are also highly difficult to satisfy, with each receiving a massive negative 50% modifier to their base happiness, requiring you to import luxury goods to keep them productive and loyal to your nation. The pop system is inherently fluid, and can change over time via the mechanic of promotion and demotion. To facilitate this vertical mobility, you can build buildings in your cities and settlements to increase or decrease the desired ratio of any given class. For example, building mills will increase the desired ratio of slaves in a settlement, while building forums will increase the ratio of freemen, building courts of law will increase the ratio of citizens, and building libraries and academies will increase the ratio of nobles. You can view the class ratio of any given settlement by clicking on the View Pops interface. Over time, the various classes of pops will promote and demote themselves to this listed ratio, and this speed is further increased in cities with larger populations and by using the Social Mobility Governor Edict. You can also prevent slaves from becoming freemen by disabling the Slave Promotion Allowed button. Over a period of time, the population of your settlements will increase or decrease depending on the availability of food resources. Every settlement contributes to the share that is available on a provincial level, and this can be seen in the top right of the province interface. Cities with higher strata pops, that is citizens and nobles, consume more food than they produce, while smaller settlements with food resources, like vegetables, grain, or domestic animals, produce more food than they consume. Like other resources, food supplies can be increased across the province by moving and resettling your slaves into settlements that contain this local resource, or by importing food via trade. If food supplies cannot match demand, the people in each settlement of that province will begin to starve, and you will lose pops as they migrate away and die due to starvation. Keep an eye on your provincial food levels and consider redistributing your slaves to farm settlements to keep your population happy and healthy. All pops in-game also possess their own religion and culture, which can and might differ from that of your ruling class and primary population. Over time, the pops of your various settlements and cities will assimilate to your primary culture and religion. You can speed up the assimilation of these pops by constructing temples to convert their religion, and theaters to convert their culture over time. Pops that belong to other religious and cultural groups suffer penalties to their happiness and productivity, so you should be sure to either integrate their culture or to convert them where and whenever possible. To facilitate this further, you can enact various governor edicts in the province interface to integrate your population even faster, with edicts like religious conversion and cultural assimilation useful to homogenize your pops. You can also see how quickly your pops are assimilating and converting in the view population interface of any given settlement. On the topic of culture and religion, your nation will also possess a cultural and religious identity. Your national culture dictates what decisions and events you have access to, as well as to what nations you can form later on. In our example, our Greek Macedonian culture allows us to reunite Alexander the Great's empire, as well as allowing us to compete in the Olympic Games every 4 in-game years. Our national culture also dictates how our population views us, with our non-Hellenic cultured pops receiving a penalty to their productivity and overall happiness. In this regard, you should ensure that you assimilate your population and consider expanding into regions that share your primary cultural group. Your national religion also plays an important role in the gameplay of Imperator Rome, and can be accessed by pressing F5 or navigating to the religion interface at the top of your screen. Your national religion will depend on what nation you've initially selected, but all religions share similar mechanics, which we will now explain. Your nation's religion provides bonuses in the form of the deities you worship in your national pantheon. Your nation's pantheon can contain 4 unique deities, which all provide passive benefits that permanently affect your nation. You can select and change the deities of your pantheon by clicking on the Change Deity interface, allowing you to change to a variety of gods and goddesses from the various religions that are present throughout your empire. Deities require a certain minimum percentage of the national population to follow their religion to become available, and some deities are tied to specific cultures. These deities also offer temporary omens that provide additional benefits when called upon. To benefit from the active bonuses of a deity, you can call upon an omen by clicking on your deity and clicking OK. In most nations, you can only call upon a deity's active bonuses for a period of 5 years, and the strength of this religious omen is proportional to your population's religious beliefs. Having a unified nation with pops that all believe in the same religion will greatly increase your religious unity and omen power, allowing you to maximize the strength of your active bonuses and calling down stronger omens. You can also use the religious interface to increase national stability and to lower your war exhaustion, making religion a useful tool for your next campaign. Hello everyone, and welcome to part 3 of a 5-part tutorial series where we cover how to play the basics of Imperator Rome. In this episode, we will cover the ins and outs of politics and diplomacy, taking an in-depth look at our government's administration, international relations, trade, and technological development. Once you're ready to play along, it's time to continue our campaign and explore the basics of politics and diplomacy. In our last episode, we covered the fundamentals of provinces and population, but we have yet to cover governors, the administrators that run and oversee our state's provincial affairs. When clicking on a settlement or province to open the provincial interface, governors are located in a portrait at the top left of the screen. Here, you can hover over the governor to see their statistics, like their skill level, popularity, loyalty, and their cultural and religious affiliation. The most important attribute of a good governor is a high finesse skill, a high loyalty to your state, a low level of corruption, and a religion and culture that matches the majority of the population they administer. It is also worth taking into account their family connections, as the various great families in your nation will demand appointments and representation. Sometimes it's better to appoint a weak governor from an underrepresented family to avoid lowering the loyalty of all members of that dynasty and prevent an outbreak of civil war. You can change the governor of a province at any time by selecting the Change Governor button. This will bring up an interface that offers a selection of candidates ranked in terms of finesse skill, but you should also take into account their loyalty, culture, and religion before making appointments. Low loyalty governors cannot be replaced until their loyalty is bought off with bribery or appeasement, so you should be sure to appoint only the most trustworthy of ministers to govern your provinces. Your capital province and region is automatically governed by the ruler of your nation, but other provinces can be appointed by any governor of your choice. You can more easily view the various provinces and governors of each region by accessing the Nation Overview interface in the top left of your screen, or by pressing F1 on your keyboard. Here you can see the population of all provinces you control, as well as their governors and governor policies. Governor policies are a unique mechanic available to each province, and allow your governors to enact semi-permanent changes that affect their provincial population and last the duration of their lifetime. You can change these policies at any time by clicking the Governor Policy button, and these policies provide a wide range and variety of bonuses that range from granting your population autonomy, increasing their social mobility, or even speeding up the religious and cultural conversion of your subject population. Going back to the Nation Overview interface, it's time now to select our national ideas. Every nation in Imperator Rome has a set of government bonuses, which can be seen in the top center of this interface. To unlock these national bonuses, we should go ahead and select national ideas that match our government form. Each class of idea group provides permanent bonuses to your nation, and should always be selected before starting your campaign. In our example of Egypt, we should first select a military idea, of which there are several to choose from. Next, we will select 2 diplomatic ideas to match the icons seen above the interface. Once you select all 3 of your national ideas, you will unlock your national bonus, which provides further modifiers to help in your campaign. You can change your national ideas at any time at the cost of 20 political influence, and as your technology increases, you'll be able to select between more powerful national ideas and their corresponding bonuses. It's time now to take a look at our government, which we will access by clicking on the government interface at the top of the screen, or by pressing F2 on our keyboard. In this interface, we can take a look at our ruler, including the statistics of our ruling dynasty and the heir to our throne. For Republican government forms, this screen will include information about competing parties and elections, while for tribal governments this will include information on clan chiefs and centralization. Regardless of the government of your nation, you can access government interactions here to provide short-term benefits to your nation at the cost of political influence. We will now navigate to the Offices tab of the government interface by clicking the Show Offices tab at the top of your screen. In this interface, you can find the most important advisors and counselors of your nation. These men and women bestow your state with permanent bonuses depending on their skill. Each individual office requires a different skill for the counselor to be most effective, with our diplomatic offices requiring high levels of statesmanship and our military offices requiring high levels of martial ability. You can hire, fire, and replace these advisors by clicking on the Replace Advisor button, and you should always ensure that these offices are filled by the most competent and loyal bureaucratic officials. In fact, loyalty is even more important than the skill of these advisors, as high advisor loyalties will translate to higher monthly political influence gain, while advisors with low loyalty will contribute far less monthly influence and should be avoided at all costs. To the right of this interface is the Laws tab, which we will access by clicking on Show Laws. Here, you can spend political influence and stability to change the legal system of your state. These laws have a variety of effects and can be viewed by hovering over the list. At the start of your campaign, you will only have about half of your total laws unlocked and ready to select, and more laws will become available as your technology level advances. Different government types also have different legal systems, with monarchies having laws that play governors and generals against each other, and republics having laws that balance their political factions. Keep in mind that every law costs a massive 15 stability to change, so you should be sure to make preparations before changing your legal system so that your nation doesn't collapse. With our domestic politics out of the way, it's time now to focus our attention on international diplomacy. Go ahead and click on a nation and select Open Diplomacy, or press F7 on your keyboard to open the diplomatic interface. In this menu, we can interact with all nations in the world, allowing us to view their government form, total population, opinion of us, and much more. If you select a nation on this list or on the world map, diplomatic options will appear that will allow you to offer them alliances, declare war, receive military access for your armies, support rebels, and a variety of other diplomatic options. If they have a low opinion of you and refuse your requests, you can improve relations with them by spending political influence or offering them a monetary donation. Nations within your cultural group and who share your religion will have a higher opinion towards you, while aggressively expanding in military conquests will reduce the relations of most other nation-states. At the top left of this interface, you can also change your diplomatic stance, which allows you to change how your nation interacts with the outside world, conferring your state bonuses and malices depending on your choice. But diplomacy is only one aspect of international relations. We will now cover international trade, a mechanic that allows you to import strategic resources and export your surplus materials to stimulate your economy. To import resources, go ahead and click on your capital province, in this case our capital region of the Western Delta. You can also click on the Unused Trade Routes in Capital indicator at the top of your screen. Here we can see that we have 2 of 9 trade routes active, allowing us to import 7 additional resources. After clicking on the Import button, an interface with all available resources to import will populate your screen. These resources range from strategic resources that grant you access to military units and food to feed your population, all the way to consumer goods and commodities that increase the happiness and productivity of your citizens. Hovering over any of these resources will display their various bonuses, and having more than one copy of a resource in our capital province will provide an additional bonus that will affect our entire nation. At the start of your game, be sure to import any resource that you might need, and regardless of what you select, all imports will increase your monthly commerce income. Depending on the rarity of the resources you trade, you can also gain additional commerce income. From time to time, various nations will also ask for you to export your surplus resources to them, and you can accept these offers to offload your duplicate resources in exchange for more commerce income. At the start of your campaign, you will also be prompted to invest in new inventions, and now we will cover research and development. Go ahead and click on the Invention Notification tab at the top of your screen, or press the F4 key on your keyboard. In this interface, we can buy inventions, which allows us to progress technologically over the course of our campaign. The price of these inventions is correlated directly with how large and populated our empire is, and at the start of our campaign, we can only afford one invention, as Egypt has a massive population. Over the course of time, we will unlock more inventions to purchase, and this is directly related with how many citizens and nobles we have in our empire. You can unlock inventions faster than other nations by ensuring you have a large proportion of your population as citizens and nobles, as each will produce research points and increase our research efficiency. Citizens and nobles also contribute more research points when they are happy, and certain omens and buildings can further increase their scientific output. As your research progresses over time, you will unlock access to more inventions, more national ideas, more national laws, and a variety of other unique mechanics. It's important to keep up to date with technological advances, and you should purchase as many inventions as you can afford. The last mechanic we will cover in today's guide are characters and character interactions. The world of Imperator Rome is a dangerous place, and ambitious characters are always looking to take advantage of any situation. To protect your state and ruling dynasty, you should be on the lookout for characters with low loyalty throughout your nation. From governors, to advisors, to rival political parties, and even military commanders, low-loyalty characters will disobey your commands and actively plot to overthrow your government in a civil war. You cannot manually replace such disloyal characters, making them a dangerous threat to your continued rule. Fortunately for you, there are options available to handle such characters, ranging from bribing them and buying their loyalty, to outright imprisoning them and sabotaging their reputation. When you click on a character, a large variety of options will appear, and you can see the cost and consequence of each interaction by hovering over these selections. These interactions are not limited to characters within your own borders. You can bribe and befriend foreign rulers and foreign governors in an effort to ally them, have them defect to your state, or even assassinate their ruling family. Hello everyone, and welcome to the 4th part of a 5-part tutorial series, where we cover how to play the basics of Imperator Rome. For today's video guide, we will cover the basics of war and diplomacy, showcasing the variety of ways in which your empire can expand and how best to guide your armies to military victory. It's time to continue our campaign and get started with the basics of warfare. The armed forces of your nation are crucial to the success of your campaign, allowing you to protect your borders from hostile states and expand your rule to foreign lands. Armies can be recruited in Imperator Rome by selecting a province and clicking the Recruit Cohort button, or by selecting an existing army and clicking the Recruit to Army button. Hiring cohorts of any type depletes your manpower pool, which can be viewed at the interface at the top of your screen. Ground units and cohorts are led by commanders, which can be hired by clicking the Change Commander button at the top left of the Army interface. In a similar way to armies, naval forces and boats can be recruited by clicking on a province with a port and selecting the Build Ships button, or by selecting an existing navy and clicking the Recruit to Navy button. Navies are functionally similar to those of ground units, and are controlled by admirals loyal to your command. Hiring boats and fleets also consumes manpower, a resource that can be viewed at the top of your screen. The largest benefit of possessing a naval force is that it allows you to embark your ground units, permitting you to transport and launch invasions onto islands and lands otherwise separated by water. Maritime and coastal nations can benefit largely from possessing a powerful fleet, and you can use your fleet in conjunction with your ground units to mount combined operations.
The military units you can hire depend on the strategic resources you have in the province you are hiring your cohorts,
with basic units like light infantry, archers, and light ships being available for everyone and costing no specific resource. More specialized and effective units like heavy infantry or heavy ships require strategic resources like iron and wood for recruitment. The wide variety of military units have their own advantages and strategic resource requirements, and can be combined to create well-rounded and well-equipped militaries to overpower your opponents. The composition of your cohorts and military units is important, and can affect the combat effectiveness you have against enemy armies. On the top right of your regiment interface, you can access and change the tactics your general will employ in combat, with each tactic granting a variable level of effectiveness depending on the units in your regiment.
Combat tactics are more or less effective depending on what tactic they're up against, allowing you to counter the tactics of an enemy in battle to gain the upper hand.
Once you have hired your first few cohorts, it's time to explore the commanders of your armed forces. Ground units are led by generals, and naval units are led by admirals, but both possess similar mechanics that we will now explore. To hire a new commander for your regiments, select a cohort of your choice and click the Hire General or Hire Admiral button. This will open an interface where we can explore a list of potential commanders, sorted by default to rank them by their martial ability. In brief, martial ability is the skill that commanders have at leading their men, and provides a massive advantage in combat when fighting generals with a lower martial skill. Certain commanders also possess unique traits that grant them various advantages that can both help and hinder your war effort. Arguably, the most important metric a commander possesses is their loyalty rating, which should be your highest consideration. Highly loyal admirals and generals will follow your orders, but commanders with low enough loyalty will disobey your commands and even orchestrate civil wars against you, and should be avoided at all costs. To better protect your nation from disloyal armies, you should consider splitting your military into smaller sections, as commanders are less likely to scheme and overthrow you if they possess a smaller power base in relation to the other armies your nation controls. Now that you are prepared for war and possess an army, it's time to take a look at the basics of conquest and warfare. But before you engage in war, you should ensure that you have claims on the territory that you seek to conquer. This can be achieved in a variety of ways, but the most common is to fabricate a claim by spending your influence resource. This can be achieved by selecting the nation you want to invade in the diplomacy interface and navigating to covert actions, where we will then select Fabricate Claim and choose the province we want to invade. You can also obtain claims via the mission interface and historical events, and in our example, we already have automatic claims over our target due to the Diodaki event chain that starts at the beginning of the game. Once you have a claim, open the diplomacy window and select the nation you seek to conquer. In this window, you can declare war by selecting from a list of casus bellis, which is just another word for justifications of war. Although you can declare war without a claim or casus belli, be warned that doing so incurs huge penalties, lowering your stability by a massive -25 and increasing your nation's war exhaustion and aggressive expansion. Once your nation is at war, it's time to cover the basics of military engagement. You can move your ground and naval units by selecting them and right-clicking on the map to where you want to move them. Since our war goal in this conflict is the conquest of our enemy's province, we want to start by moving our troops into enemy territory. When your troops are directed to move to an enemy settlement, they will automatically lay siege and occupy the area. Unfortified settlements fall immediately after you move into the region, but fortified areas, denoted on the map with a castle icon, take a longer time to siege. When sieging fortified settlements, you will have a chance every month on taking the city,
and the longer you siege the fort, the more likely you'll capture it.
After enough time passes and the besieged city runs out of food, you will gain control of the fortified area and have a chance to enslave the enemy's population, which will automatically be sent back and redistributed to your national and regional capitals. Enemy nations will not give away their territory without a fight, however. Combat in Imperator Rome occurs when your regiments encounter enemy units within the same settlement or sea lane. You can initiate battles by either moving your troops into an enemy formation or by having an opponent converge on your location. Before an expected battle occurs, you can also see the expected outcome of the battle by hovering over the sword indicator on the site of the future battlefield. You should pay special attention to the terrain of the battlefield, which can negatively or positively impact your chance of military victory. Mountains, hills, and forests confer massive defensive bonuses to defending armies, and you should never attack an enemy reinforcing such a position. Likewise, rivers and naval invasions confer penalties to attacking armies, and bonuses to defending regiments, so you should always move and position your troops to obtain a defensive and tactical advantage. Once two armies converge, the outcome of any battle is decided by morale, a metric in the battlefield interface that steadily decreases until reaching 0. Once either side of the conflict depletes their morale, their troops surrender and disengage from the fight, either running away or being destroyed in their entirety if they are cornered and stack wiped. While the effectiveness of your armies and the outcome of the battle is largely dictated by the quality of your troops and the martial ability of your general, quantity should never be discounted, and you should always aim to have a numerical advantage. You can reinforce your armies by moving regiments onto the location of the battlefield, and you can also force a retreat if you are losing by selecting your regiments and clicking on a province you control. When your nation is at war, you will notice a flag with a number at the bottom of your screen. This interactive interface displays the specifics of your war and allows you to view your war score, war exhaustion, war enthusiasm, and war goal of the conflict. In brief, the number shown in the center is your war score and is a measure of how much your nation is winning or losing the current war. A positive war score means that you are winning the war, while a negative war score means that your nation is losing. Your war score can be increased by winning battles, occupying enemy provinces, and fulfilling and defending the war goal. The war goal is the most important objective to fulfill, and varies depending on the casus belli you use to initiate your war. In this example, we declared a war of conquest, and thus our war score can be increased by occupying the required province of Philistia. Once the war goal has been accomplished, our nation will gain war score each month and bring us closer to ultimate victory. The longer we hold the province designated as the war goal, the more war score we will gain each month, so it's vitally important we accomplish this objective and defend the province if we want to win the overall war. All nations involved in the conflict also possess a metric for war exhaustion and war enthusiasm. These indices go up and down depending on the outcome of your battles and occupations. Achieving your war goal and defeating the enemy on the battlefield will lower your opponent's war enthusiasm and greatly increase their war exhaustion, allowing you to press for and negotiate a peace deal. Generally speaking, nations with low war enthusiasm will actively seek for peace and accept almost any offer within reason, so you should try to occupy as many provinces as possible and defeat as many of their armies on the battlefield to lower their will to fight. When you are ready to either demand peace or surrender to your opponent, you can use this interface to negotiate with your enemy by clicking on the Sue for Peace button. The provinces, reparations, and concessions that can be gained from this war will be listed in this interface, but each cost varying amounts of war score before the nation will accept your proposal. You can demand individual settlements, entire provinces, or even force your enemy to become your subject state, but do be aware that military expansion comes at the cost of increasing your aggressive expansion. If you expand too often and declare too many wars, the penalties of aggressive expansion become more and more severe, so do be sure to invade and conquer in moderation.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the final part of our 5-part guide series, where we cover how to play the basics of Imperator Rome. In today's video guide, we will take an in-depth look at all of the features included with the 1.5 Menander update. This free update is the largest yet to come to Imperator Rome, and in this video we will explore the large variety of new mechanics, updates, and quality of life improvements that are coming to the game. Let's get started by looking at cultures, the first significant feature to receive a major overhaul in 1.5. There are a variety of new ways you can interact with cultures in the Menander update. We will start our overview by checking out the Cultural Interface, a new addition that has replaced the previous Decision tab. In this menu, we can view the variety of various cultures present in our nation, with metrics including the happiness of our primary culture and the amount of classes and pops that belong to each cultural group. On the bottom half of this interface, we also have the ability to interact with specific cultures via the Cultural Decision mechanic. This new feature allows you to pass privileges for each of your nation's cultural groups, oftentimes increasing or decreasing their population's happiness in exchange for bonuses and modifiers. For example, some of these privileges allow you to increase a specific culture's integration speed, the ability to prosecute outside cultural characters more efficiently, or augment the productivity of their pop classes, and much more. But privileges are not the only cultural decision you can use to interact with your various cultures. The most important new mechanic in the Menander update is the ability to integrate foreign cultures and treat them as equals to your primary culture. Integrating another culture is possible by adjusting the civic rights of that culture to allow promotion up to the citizen or nobility class. Once you've granted this culture full civic rights, the process of integration begins, presenting your nation with events that force you to make concessions, like adopting a deity of that culture or forcing you to adopt one of their great families into your nation. While integration is ongoing, your nation will also suffer from a substantial penalty to stability. Once integrated, the culture can now promote their pops to all class levels, and are treated as if they were your primary culture. But there are drawbacks to this mechanic. Every additional culture that is integrated and has full civic rights will lower the happiness of all of your primary culture pops, including those that have already been integrated previously. In functional terms, this means that you'll have to decide between assimilating or integrating the cultures in your empire, but integration remains an excellent choice for larger cultures that would otherwise take too long to assimilate. The 1.5 Menander update also brings a whole host of fresh cultures and redesigns to pre-existing cultural groups. Western Europe's Celtic cultural group has added the Gallic and Pannonian subgroup. The Scythian group has 10 new subordinate cultures, and the Indian region has been updated with the new Prachian and Atavi cultural groups. The former lands of Alexander the Great's empire have also been updated, with the Persian cultural group now consisting of Iranian, Anatolian, and Caucasian subcultures. Further to the south, the Egyptian cultural group has been redesigned completely, and contains the 3 new cultures of Bohairic, Fayumic, and Sahidic. One of the largest new features of the Menander update is a complete overhaul of the Greek Diadochi states, adding a slew of mechanics that improve the depth of gameplay in the region. The most visible change is the emergence of the Antagonid Kingdom, formerly known as Phrygia. The Antagonid Kingdom, along with their Diadochi rivals, now have access to the Diadochi war mechanic, allowing any of Alexander's former realms to use a brand new casus belli that grants them claims across all of the former Argead Empire. But not all of these nations have identical war goals. For example, the Antagonid Kingdom will be forced to conquer Corinthos and defend provinces in Greece, Cyprus, and the Levant. Failing this, their empire will collapse entirely, opening up the region to foreign invasion and greatly changing the course of history. Access to the new Diadochi war casus bellis is only possible when your original ruler is still alive, so be sure to take advantage of this avenue for expansion before it is too late. In addition, a large amount of unique events have been added that appear during the Diadochi Wars, with the potential for Cappadocia to revolt and Thrace having the option to choose between neutrality or joining their Macedonian overlord. On the subject of the Hellenic world, the Menander update is accompanied by the release of the Epirus Flavor Pack DLC. This recently redesigned content pack is available now, and free for players who have already pre-ordered the game. The Epirus pack features a set of new and unique powerful missions for Epirus, along with the inclusion of the Blood of Iocus bloodline for your Basilius. Epirus's new missions focus on boosting the capabilities of your ruler, unlocking unique deities, and grants you a variety of events that will allow you to arrange marriages, form alliances, and integrate your Illyrian and coastal neighbors into your realm automatically as subject states. The Blood of Iocus brings further bonuses to your court, and permanently increases the martial ability, prominence, and monthly popularity gain of your ruler, on top of a massive plus 5% army morale bonus to the military of your nation. In a method similar to other major Hellenic bloodlines, the Blood of Iocus is passed down patrilineally, but you can reclaim this bloodline if it is ever lost by using the Prove Legitimacy scheme mechanic and following the Researching Lineage ambition. But Greece and the Argead realm are not the only areas of 1.5 that are experiencing an upgrade. The Republic government form has benefited from a massive redesign, and benefits from new mechanics that add depth to political parties and includes the addition of electorate support and approval systems. The most visible new addition is the support in the Senate interface that fills a similar role to the legitimacy and centralization mechanics that monarchies and tribal governments already possess. In this interface, we can see how the various parties will support our actions, and this is largely dependent on how we have acted for or against their interests previously. The Republican government interface has also been entirely redesigned, allowing us to change the term length of our rulers by enacting electoral reforms by passing laws through the Senate. Last but certainly not least, Menander offers a host of quality of life improvements to refine and revamp your in-game experience. Happiness and unrest have been redesigned from the ground up, with unrest no longer being a mechanic that you can ignore without consequences. Many pop classes now require luxury resources to remain content with your rule, with higher strata classes demanding rare and harder to obtain trade goods. Higher strata classes also contribute far more to unrest in your provinces, meaning that a low number of unhappy nobles is more dangerous than a large amount of discontented slaves. This is reflected by the new mechanic of political weight. Ignoring the needs and desires of your population also carries a greatly increased risk of rebellion, with entire provinces dynamically joining revolts when bordering regions of heightened unrest. To combat the increased threat of internal dissidents, forts in 1.5 now provide unrest reduction in the provinces they are constructed and maintained within. These systems greatly increase the realism of your campaigns, forcing you to make strategic decisions to keep your population loyal to your rule.
That concludes all 5 parts of this Imperator Rome mega tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comment section below, and I'd be happy to help you. If you liked this guide and want more Imperator Rome content, feel free to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos every week. Thank you again for watching, and if you watched this entire thing for 1 hour, that's pretty impressive. As always, I'll see you on the next video, and now it's time to roll the credits.